what's going on. Let's see. And, yes. Mr. Cotton will be here. Mr. Cotton. And then just. I'll hand it right back.
That's all right.
Yes.
Can you send HR and tell them to make this check bigger?
I don't have that much authority yet.
There he is back there.
Too small. Too small. We got them all out. You got yours up, right? I'm gonna call you in.
Oh, please.
Is this the same one we got the other day in the email?
No.
This is.
Oh.
It's an excerpt from the county road standards.
That's not good.
The technique.
Weigh in on. It's not something I sell it.
I'm going to go ahead and hit.
Okay. You got the mics.
Yep.
This one, I think I need to tighten this.
Right, exactly.
What? How do you use it? Oh, yeah, it's all you. I'm going bathroom. No. You got it for me. You got it. I know. Redeem.
I call this meeting of the Kent County Commissioners to order. Please rise for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America, to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Please remain standing as we observe a moment of silence for those who were murdered in Las Vegas 2 days ago. Thank you. The Kent Farm Museum, thanks to the county for our interest in financial support of the museums of Kent. So on the first Saturday of May of this year, the museums of Kent County held an open house that was well attended at the Farm Museum. We will be holding our Apple Butter Festival on October 7th, rain or shine. Please come, especially if you like apple butter. That's your favorite?
I love it.
The NAACP Kent Branch and its annual Freedom Fund Scholarship Banquet on October 14th of this year at 4 p.m. at the Potter's House in Fairleigh. Proceeds benefit the Student Scholarship Fund. Tickets are $35 for adult, $15 per child under 15. Maryland Rural Development Corporation asked we'd like to attend their second annual Community Day being held at MRDC Family Education Center on Saturday, October 21st at 11 a.m. in Elkton. Lunch will be provided. As a notice, Columbus Day, all county offices will be closed on Monday, October 9th of this year in observance of Columbus Day. Delmarva Power will be doing some additional emergency maintenance and repairs to their 69 kV transmission line between Chestertown and Millington. This will affect our EMS location, Office of Emergency Services. Okay. Work will begin on October 15 and is estimated to last until December 15. During this time frame, Delmarva Power will have construction equipment, materials, and personnel working within their right-of-way. In addition, Delmarva Power will be doing some also additional work scheduled between October 15th to last until December 15th. And this is located adjacent to or across from our Kent Queen Anne's County, Maryland property in Kennedyville. This will affect primarily for the county the Kennedyville water treatment plant. Effective January 1 of each year, the Department of Commerce notifies each jurisdiction of the share of the private activity bond allocation. Okay. On October 1st, all unused allocation reverts back to the department where it is pooled in the Secretary's Reserve and available for reallocation until December 31st expiration. We did not subscribe to any of the activity bonds at all. So. The Urban Grid Solar Project, the company is withdrawing their application for the solar project along Morgan Neck Road at the current time. Okay. We have actually two different sets of minutes. Regular minutes and public hearing minutes and liquor minutes on the 19th.
Make a motion to approve.
Second.
Prior to moving second, the aforementioned minutes be approved as submitted. All those in favor say aye. Motion is carried unanimously. Regular session minutes and liquor minutes on September 26th.
Motion to approve.
Since you weren't here, it's not unanimous, so.
It is unanimous, but two were here.
The 19th, you two were here. The 26th, you two were here.
Is that still unanimous, or is that the members that were here? Because it's not unanimous on the board.
Parliamentarian.
I'm just saying.
Maybe
One
just mention
abstained.
one of the commissioners
Was absent.
Right.
Okay. Great. Minutes for the 26th of September and for both regular and liquor minutes.
Motion to approve.
Second.
Aye.
Probably moving second that the aforementioned minutes be approved as submitted. All those in favor say aye. Aye. It was approved by those who were present.
Good job, man.
You've been smelling paint or something too long.
Just clarity.
We have two raffle permit applications. The first is from the Eastern Shore Rabbit Rescue and Education Center in Rock Hall. This is for a raffle only. It will be held at the Emmanuel Church in Chestertown on Saturday, November 4th. Drawing will be at approximately 8:30 that evening, as well as Washington College Washington College Trap and Ski Team has a raffle only, and it'll be held throughout the county between October 11th and January 31st. The drawing will be nightly in the month of February. It's your pleasure.
Second.
Probably move the second of the aforementioned application to be approved.
I
All,
learned something tonight, though. I didn't know Washington College had a trap.
I didn't know either. All those in favor say aye. Aye. Okay. A series of liquor minutes, liquor applications. First is from the Echo Hill Outdoor School. This is for beer and wine only. A special Class C license application. Type of function is a sunset sail aboard the Skipjack Ellsworth, departing Cannon Street docks on October 6th. The Galena Volunteer Fire Company for beer only. It's a wrestling event, be held on Cross Street on October 7th. The Rockall Volunteer Fire Company application for beer, wine, and liquor at the Rockall Volunteer Fire Company in the Chesapeake Room at the Rockall Firehouse on October 7th. The Tallchester Community Association for beer and wine application for a spaghetti dinner at the Community Center in Tallchester on October 7th. Echo Hill Outdoor School for beer and wine. Again, another sunset sail on the Skipjack Ellsworth on October 20th. And the Eastern Shore Rabbit Rescue and Education Center application for beer and wine be held at the fundraiser at the Emmanuel Church Parish Hall in Chestertown on November 4th. Since these are liquor applications require a public hearing, anyone have any comments for or against the aforementioned applications? Yes, sir. Please state your name and.
Yeah, my name is Fred Kirchner. I'm from Tolchester. Regarding the Tolchester Community Association, I've discussed this with a few people. This has been an ongoing event that's going on here. That basically, the organization is more of a real estate marketing and development corporation. They're acquiring properties, but the definition of the state law, as I reviewed it and a number of others have, I think it's being misinterpreted. They're not a quote-unquote charitable organization. They don't do anything for the community itself. What they're doing with the funds, I don't know. Currently, their corporate status is not, what do they call it? It's not in good standing at this moment. Reasons why, whatever. It's just, if you check the website, it's not in good standing. It's been in that position before. There's a lot of issues with it, but basically, I think it's an insult to most of the real charitable organizations like the ones that was listed today that actually do stuff for the community. This organization doesn't do anything. They refuse to do anything for the roads or the trees or anything that's in the community. What they're doing, nobody seems to know. They have a small membership. They're claiming everybody belongs to them. Nobody does. There's no deed requirement for anybody to be a member. Personally, I think with some of the stuff with the acquisition of properties that they're doing, with not paying taxes on any of the properties that they have, for some strange reason this happens, they'll get properties surveyed and acquire them. There's no taxes being paid for them. There's no property taxes or anything. So it's something I don't have the jurisdiction to think that this may want to be looked at by another agency. DAT is very negligent in a lot of the work they do. I mean, they're busy as heck. It should be their jurisdiction, but again, I think it's an insult to most of the real charity organizations that collect a lot of monies and donate them back to the community. They do stuff for the community, such as the ones you always see listed. A true bona fide homeowners association or community association, which they're not, they would not be eligible for this because they're typically, as the original charter, it still stands on the state records, is a business stock corporation. But it's just something I don't think has been vetted enough, and they keep doing this. This spaghetti dinner that they applied for is more than that. The spaghetti dinner is actually a dance with a live DJ. And I found out recently, I think the planning and zoning may have given them an inadvertent approval for a commercial public assembly, and I think the fire marshal would want to look at that. And these are people, it's not the community. There's outsiders coming in there and everything. But again, I would think that just with the information that we got that their corporation is not in good standing at this point in time, I don't think they should be given this privilege. They're being sanctioned by the commissioners, and it's not benefiting any of the people in Colchester. You know, I don't know if anybody is gaining anything. They will not do anything with the roads. They will not do anything with the trees. They will not do anything for any of the people in the community. They tell them it's up to them to take care of their own stuff. But they're doing stuff for themselves. We have a major problem that the sheriff's department's going into now regarding golf carts and everything else that they say is authorized in there. They have no right to authorize them. It's against state law. But that's basically what it is. I've brought this up before, but this organization is truly not in any way. I think it's an insult to every one of the organizations that do get the Class 3 license. If you look up the classification of the state law, that it basically says a charitable organization, meaning an organization that has a benevolent, educational, philanthropic, humane, patriotic, religious, or an organization that solicits or obtains contributions solicited from the public for charitable or benevolent purposes. And it's also that it has to be registered with the state in accordance with Title VI, Subtitle 4 of the Business Regulation Article. But the Class D license comes from the actual license that's for these organizations. This is a pro diem license for one day, for a few hours. But they classify it in state law as a Class C organization or club, beer and wine license. The board may issue a license for use by a nonprofit organization or club that operates only for the use of its members and their guests when accompanied by members, meets in a clubhouse that is exclusively for the members and guests, and except as provided in item 2, which is following. Of this item has at least 100 members paying dues required in the year immediately before and the year for which the license was issued. If the club is comprised exclusively of members who served in the armed forces, now this is an exemption for veterans organizations and stuff. The license authorized the holder to sell beer and wine, and generally it goes on. I wish Tommy was here. And they could sell it, but that's the license, which is, we have a fee of $500. That's for a permanent license. And you're giving them a per diem license under that circumstance, which is reserved for them. Now, the state of Maryland actually, veterans organizations and fire companies don't fall into this category, but by state law, they're definitely exempted. They're exempted of sales tax, which is the other thing. Are they charging sales tax? They're subject to it. Us, Knights of Columbus and everybody else has to pay sales tax when we have the Tea Party events and everything. But there's just so much that's not there. There's no documentation. There's no 501c7 even. But it's just something, I think it's an insult to the organizations. And, you know,
Let's say it does not First of all, sales tax is not in the purview of the county commissioners. That's a.
I know. This is just it's a,
I've received Fred talked to me one day about it, his concerns, and I had passed them with Tom Yeager. So we would, and he's reviewed it and says that it's okay.
well, they don't have a, even though their corporate status is not in,
Does not require an organization to be registered at all with SSTAT.
yeah, I understand that, but I'm saying it's a corporation, and as far as the state of Maryland goes, they're not in good standing.
And there's no requirement for the entity to be in good standing. In addition, the organization can be religious, fraternal, civic, or charitable. It doesn't have to be just charitable.
I know, but it's not civic, it's not religious. It's a bunch of people getting drunk in a building is what it is, really. There's already, the sheriff's department's already gotten into that.
Or a club.
Yeah, it's a club, but it says that, but if you read it, and the interpretation I have from others, and even by state law, it clearly says it's or charitable organization, comma, association, club, or society. And the state law elaborates on it, meaning a charitable club, whereas they will contribute to the community. Charitable organizations, I mean, they have that in state law, means an organization, institution, or a site, well, it's exempt from taxation, but that, we're not going into, they don't need the 501c3.
No. But they, a civic organization.
Yeah, a civic organization is defined as a organization that generally it contributes to the civic. That's specified actually. Specification of the civic organization that civic organization means any local service club, veterans, post, fraternal society or association, volunteer fire or rescue groups, or local civic league or association of 10 or more persons not organized for profit but operated exclusively for educational or charitable purposes as defined herein, including the promotion of community welfare and the net earnings of which are devoted exclusively to charitable, educational, recreational, or social service purposes. And none of this has never happened over any years.
Recreational purposes?
Yeah, what's the recreation? They talk about, you see, what they're doing really in truth, which has been going on for years here, especially since 2000, is the promotion of a beach, building buildings, building boardwalks, and keep contributing. We know this is far from, going to happen. They've surveyed a lot of water, which they really can't go on. It's wetlands, but they're telling people, we've got 3 acres down here, we got Ohio Beach too. And the one statement they use in one situation is where they're claiming that, with their own letters, they claim to take credit for the bug spraying, they're taking credit for
What's your final outcome? I've sat here for 6 years now. Every year you come in, same battle, but they've proven, and the state says there's not an issue. So what is the final outcome that Fred Kirshner wants? Just to shut them down completely?
Well, the trouble is we've got a few people. First of all, I've been threatened. I don't take threats. I've been told they're going to call the ATF, they're going to have me shut down, they're going to call the sanitary district, and I'm putting poisons in the bed. Let them do it, all right? I've been threatened, but I'm not going to be intimidated. But there's a lot of people that are. There are people on there that's been threatened very badly. They're afraid of them. I mean, you got people who run around and say, keep your mouth shut, or we'll take your house away, or if we don't have you locked up for parking your car on one of our roads. I had somebody calling me from northern Pennsylvania. I actually had some people referred to me from attorneys. Because the truth is, if you don't do it through that way, you got to go into court. An attorney wants to go into court with it. It's something that I think this is going to blow up. I think this is going to get into an area that's going to be a little bit very uneasy with criminal activities. And if it does, then who's going to swing? It's sanctioning it. They turn around just like they have with the health department. They tried to say, oh, they got a building permit and this kitchen is a fully approved food service facility. It is not. John Beskett made it very clear. They built the building, renewed it, they put in a kitchen, all of it done basically without permit, and then they came in later and gave him a permit. And, because they caught him doing it. And John Beskett made it clear in a letter that since the health department approved the building permit for the additions and stuff, or the improvements they did, he did not approve the kitchen. And, it's just a matter of misinformation. And the trouble is they're using it, and I would say it's on the verge of criminal. Yeah. Huh?
John did not approve the kitchen?
Yeah, there's a letter. Everybody's had a letter. I believe I may very likely have it here. It was a letter that was actually sent to the Community Association by the Health Department. Again, they give them these one-day permits or something. That in any place. Unfortunately, I guess I may not have it. I have it, but I don't have it here.
Okay.
It's an ongoing thing, but every time they get a permit or gets approval, it's a sanction, and they'll expand on it, just like this. They're talking about a spaghetti dinner. It's more than that. They've advanced now into, I've heard long ago that under the zoning, well, it's been changed, I guess. Nobody ever knew about it. But under zoning in a residential area, you can't have public assembly in that sense to be right now, for weddings and everything else like that. And the trouble is they just seem like they'll say they don't get it, and they get it. And I don't blame anybody for it. It's just that I think there's an unscrupulous person involved here that they didn't look at it. Just like when they went to court the first time, they had Pete's father, for crying out loud, was the resident agent for the corporation. And they haven't filed anything with the SDAT as far as the corporation goes, other than back in the 70s, they sent a resolution that we became a nonprofit organization.
For this particular purpose,
Yeah, we're looking for the liquor license.
or,
Yeah.
or as the property tax is concerned, it may be something entirely different.
I think it was Mitch Moll that recommended that when they had the dispute about the beach property. When he determined that, he said, I think somebody ought to look into whether they're liable for property tax.
It's a separate issue.
Yeah.
But as far as this application for a special class C license, we'll handle this separately, or?
I can lump them all together if you want. I mean, look, I think I told Mr. Kirshner pretty much the same thing when we rely on our attorney to research this stuff, and he sent out new red flags, and some of what you say may very well be true. I don't know whether it is or not, but the attorney sent back word that the application was okay, and that's what we're kind of bound to go with, and I'll make a motion that we approve all the above applications.
Second.
All right, move a second.
Answered the answer tonight with me, so I don't know if he read it.
Thank you very much. I have a motion to continue, all right? Probably move a second. The aforementioned applications be approved. All those in favor say aye. Aye. Motion is carried unanimously.
That was unanimous.
Unanimous. We need to go into a legislative session.
Motion to go into a yeah, I had it up here for you. Wait, hold on just a second. Make a motion to go into legislative session.
Second.
We are in a legislative session.
Why not?
I'll make a motion that we table Code Home Rule Bill number 4-2017, business personal property taxes. The recommendation of our county attorney that wants to take a second look at this wording.
And that's fine. I hadn't been part of this or privy to this, but somebody better get their tails in order because this should be done. If we're going to put it to table every month it comes up, whatever the issue is with it, it needs to be taken care of at the next legislative session.
Will be.
Period.
I agree, but
I agree.
it was their attorney that requested this, so,
Did that-
I mean,
Did I miss an email?
No, he and I just got off the phone about it. And he just wants to make sure that it definitely says exactly what we intend it to say.
For my personal, did the Attorney General weigh in like we asked him to?
Yes.
However, there was some
There's some interpretation.
interpretation. We wanted
So-
the interpretation part.
The county attorney just wants to alleviate the interpretation aspect of this and make sure that it says exactly what we want it to say.
That's fine. I just want to alleviate these pain in the ass companies from coming in here, telling us what we got to do with our zoning. So I'll second that.
Probably move a second to table Code Home Rule number 4-2017. All those in favor say aye.
Aye. I'm sorry about that, kids. I apologize. Got you even out there.
Code Home Rule 5-2017, which is an act to amend Article 5, District Regulations, Section 1.4.A, Agricultural Zoning District, Accessory Uses and Structures, adding 10.5, and Article 5, District Regulations, Section 2.4.A, Resource Conservation District, Accessory Uses and Structures, adding 9, to include waste management structures in the Kent County Land Use Ordinance for the purpose of addressing structures for the storage of manure and to provide certain standards relative thereto.
based on the recommendation of the Planning Commission and our review, I make a motion that we approve CHR 5-2017 entitled Waste Management Structures.
Second.
Probably move a second that Code Home Rule Bill 5-2017 be approved as written. All those in favor say aye. Aye. Motion is carried unanimously and it is adopted. Okay. Where are we on this one?
Motion to go back out of legislative.
Yes.
Motion to go back out of legislative session.
We're in regular session. National 4-H Week.
Somebody special in the audience.
So somebody's,
Cotton's here. I saw Cotton come in.
oh, there he is. Okay. We do have a Mr. Cotton. We do have a proclamation here. The proclamation, Kent County, Maryland Proclamation, National Association for the Advancement of Colored People, celebrating our past, thriving in our present, investing in our future. Whereas for 108 years, the National Association for the Advancement of Colored Peoples, NAACP, has been in the forefront of civil liberties for all Americans and with the mission to ensuring a political, educational, social, and economic equality of rights for all persons and the elimination of racial hatred and racial discrimination. The NAACP is fulfilling this mission daily. And whereas from its founding in 1909, the NAACP is the nation's oldest, largest, and most widely recognized grassroots-based civil rights organization. Its more than 500,000 members and supporters throughout the United States and the world are the premier advocates for civil rights in their communities, campaigning for equal opportunity and conducting voter mobilization. And whereas the Kent County chapter has been and continues to be ever vigilant in protecting the rights of the residents of Kent County, fostering a sense of fairness and equal treatment of all continues to be a prime focus. Now therefore be it proclaimed, the County Commissioners of Kent County do hereby take pleasure in recognizing the Kent County chapter of the NAACP at their annual banquet on Saturday, October 14th of this year for its work in ensuring the residents of the county have a voice and are treated with all the dignity and respect required for all citizens. Signed, the County Commissioners of Kent County, this date in October. Okay. Big crowd. I'm sure everybody has some homework to do. Oh, Beth Hill from the Agriculture Extension in your group.
All right. Come on. I apologize. Come on up here. Good. How you doing?
Did you have anything?
Do you want us to talk before or after?
That's entirely up to you.
That's up to you.
Well, we have Kent County's proclamation entitled Kent County, Maryland Proclamation National 4-H Week. And it goes, whereas 4-H is the nation's largest youth development organization that grows confident young people who are empowered for life today and prepared for a career tomorrow. And whereas 4-H is a community of nearly 6 million young people learning leadership, citizenship, and life skills through more than 3,000 local extension offices in every county in the United States. And whereas 4-H, part of University of Maryland Extension, is a program where youth learn through opportunities in the 4-H mandates of science, technology, engineering, math, healthy living, and citizenship, supported by the latest research from the network of 110 public land-grant universities. And whereas youth can experience 4-H by becoming a member of a 4-H club, attending a 4-H camp, joining school-based or after-school 4-H programs, and 4-Hers can demonstrate project mastery at the local, state, regional, or national levels, and also attend conferences and events. And now, therefore, we, the County Commissioners of Kent County, do hereby proclaim October the 1st through the 7th, 2017, as National 4-H Week in Kent County. We encourage county youth and adults to take advantage of the opportunity to become a part of a Kent County youth development that enhances our young people's interest in their futures, and to join us in recognizing the partnership between Kent County and the University of Maryland system. Signed, the County Commissioners of Kent County, Maryland, William W. Pickram, President, Ronald H. Fithian, Member, William Short, Member, dated October the 3rd, 2017. And on behalf of the citizens of Kent County, it's my pleasure to present you with this proclamation.
And we very much appreciate your support. And as leaders of our county, we thought it would be appropriate for us today to highlight some of our leaders within 4-H. So that's who I have with me today. They had some of them have brought some of their project work with them, just to kind of highlight that. But I want each of them to tell you what leadership position they have in Kent County, so they know, so you have an idea of what leaders what they are. We have 23 youth in the county who are in executive roles, so president, vice president, treasurer, or secretary of their clubs. There's various roles further than that, photographer, historian, that kind of thing. But we also have leadership roles in committees and other events that we do. Plus, we've got kids who have taken their leadership roles that they've learned in 4-H and are now applying them in roles in the county, in their schools, in their communities. We have Henry Myers, who is our youth director on the Ag Center Board of Directors, a full voting member, one of the few fair boards, I think the only fair board in the state of Maryland that has a full director that is a youth position. So these kids are taking their leadership that they're learning within their clubs and applying it other places. So I'll let them tell you what leadership they are doing in it. So you guys want to start? Also start in front. Casey, you want to go? Junior Leadership Council. She's one of our 4-year students now, has a position in her school, so I don't know what position you are.
I'm Alex President. I'm a triple shot, so I'm vice president. Hi, I'm Cassie Palmer. I am the vice president of Junior Dairy Associates. I am also on the toy drive committee and JLC. And I've also taken my leadership to Kent County High School, where I am the secretary of the National Honor Society and historian of the National Spanish Honor Society.
And back here in the back, Miss Bert Lindauer, who is one of our club leaders. We couldn't have clubs if we didn't have trained volunteer club leaders. So we wanted to give you an idea of what some of our kids are doing in their leadership roles and how they're applying it. So thank you to everyone for your support, and thank you for the proclamation for National Parade Junior. Appreciate it. And if we could, we'd like to get your picture. Thank you very much, everybody. You're right. You are exactly
For all of them. Thank you, kids. Marty Holden, Division Chief for Environmental Operations. The gift that keeps on giving.
Thank you. I am here tonight to provide an update on the remediation project for the landfill. Also some budget requests and some other updates. Start off with the update on the remediation on the water treatment side. Faya Air is continuing to put the equipment together. We're hoping to have that delivered. It's a storage unit with the equipment to control the pH, the iron and copper. Hopefully that will be delivered the week of October the 16th. The water plant discharge, of course, we're still violating the pH. This past month we did not have any exceedances on copper and iron, but pH continues. The progress report was sent to Maryland Department of Environment on the 19th, which I send them periodically updates on the progress that we're making. And if you recall, we received that letter indicating that some fines or potential penalties would be handed down if we didn't progress in a fashion. We provided them with a letter, and since then, it's been several months, we haven't heard it. Phone conversation, it sounds like they're obviously watching our progress and are okay with what we're getting accomplished as we move forward. So failure, they're working on the equipment. That is the pilot test to determine if this equipment actually does what we need it to do. It's potential we could buy it or work on that type of equipment. Construct, put in a permanent facility. So this pilot program with the equipment that Faya Air is providing, that we're leasing, will hopefully give us that data that we need to move forward on that. McCrone is still contracted with us. They've been working on the copper treatment alternatives. They've been obviously adding that to the PER, the preliminary engineering report, and also assistance with the water treatment plant pilot testing. We, of course, exceeded. We ran out of the funds that was originally budgeted for McCrone's contract, which was extended from last year. So I have a change order before you today requesting $6,000 to cover what we've already had McCrone working on with the copper issue, and also that will cover the pilot test period. That's before you today for approval. It is budgeted. We have the $195,000, so it's not additional funds that were requested. It's just that is correct.
So moved.
Second.
Probably move a second to approve the additional expenditure of $6,000 for this remediation contract.
Thank you.
All in favor, say aye. Aye. Motion is carried unanimously.
Under the permanent methane gas flare project, as you know, we were exceeding the methane gas levels at several wells around the perimeter of the facility. MES completed the pilot test. We installed a flare that MES provided for us. The pilot test was a success. We've actually shown that methane gas levels have been reduced and we're in compliance. So the next step is to install a permanent flare. So MES has completed a proposal for the installation. We've requested an air permit application be sent in, and that's been done, so it's been sent into the Maryland Department of the Environment. And currently we have a contract, we're under an IGA with MES, and under that contract we have a purchase order, PO number, that we're working under. If you recall, we had funds that were transferred from last year's budget into this year's budget. That was part of that PO. And currently we have $42,000 left. And if you recall, we were actually working with MES. This was the funds set aside for the pilot test for the flare. They provided the flare. We provided assistance with installing the piping. So we really did reduce a lot of the costs associated with that. The cost estimate, and this is not actually in your budget today, or I'm sorry, not in your budget, but in your packet today. I just received the cost estimate late last week before the agenda was struck. And the cost estimate is $98,610. This would be for the flare, the design of the system, and weekly well field operation and maintenance for 1 year. That maintenance and that visit by MES weekly, they'll actually install the flare system. Then they will come out weekly and do the testing of all the wells, and they'll also make adjustments because there's a lot of adjustments that they'll need to make from the different points where the methane is actually being removed from the landfill cell.
Are there other entities that do what we're asking MES to do?
There are companies out, firms that...
Have we ever bid this instead of sole source?
Didn't bid this portion of it. Now, MES hired an engineering firm to actually design the flare system, which was done through MES, through their contracting protocol. But no, it has not been bid out.
But is there something binding us to the contract that says we have to use MES even though they provided this other service?
No, there's nothing saying. They've been, well, let me continue on before I answer that question fully. The contract or the cost estimate is at 98,610. We obviously have the 42,000 that we still have budgeted that has not been spent. So we're down to $66,610 requested to be transferred from the budgeted amount that we have currently. We have $185,000 in capital projects.
Right.
Now, because MES will come in and they will install the flare, we can actually do the construction work, digging and burying the actual pipe, and that will do two things. Number one, cut costs, and also will allow us to make sure that nothing disturbs our line or the landfill. You can see in those pictures, the piping that is exposed right now will be buried and connected to the blower system. So we're going to save. It's going to be cost saving if we assist them, and instead of bidding it out and going with a contractor that would come in and do the.
Well, why? I mean, but if you put your bid out and your specs out there, your RFPs out there stating that you still want to provide that service in the RFP, then they have to bid it that way and allow us to do the work. And if we're not going to bid it, then we don't know if there's a difference of 5,000, 10,000, either direction, or 30,000. But I think if we have the opportunity to do it, why don't we do it?
I think the working relationship that we have with MES, we already have the contract in place, we have the PO in place.
I understand working relationship
Yeah.
doesn't mean anything when it comes to budget.
And I've made it very clear I'm not a fan of theirs as it is. I mean, I think everything should be, William's been a big fan of not sole source. And so in this situation where we have an opportunity, if the contract's been fulfilled and we have an opportunity to bid something for the county citizens, then it should be bid again if MES comes back as the best bidder in the contract. If they don't, then they shouldn't. Unless we see fit that there's only X number of dollars and we feel comfortable with our relationship.
I feel comfortable with the relationship. I can see already that we've saved money by going the route that we did. We were able to do work in-house and also cut a lot of expense.
I think the point is not, you can still do the work in-house. It's who the ultimate contractor is.
I understand, and I think timing too plays a big role in this. If we continue to then go out for bid, we're talking several, probably months down the road before we can get things in place.
And realize we're under a consent order too, so.
Exactly.
You have a map to go by, so it's not like these companies do this all the time. It's no different than what I do for a living or anybody else. If you have a criteria, MES has already set a footprint on what needs to be done. If that's given to the competitor to say this is what has to fit that scope, and we're going to do that fit other part of that scope, it seems to me they can be bid quite fast and quite easily.
Definitely could be bid. I would argue that MES is very familiar with our operations, very familiar with what is in place now, and the adjustments that would be made in the future would obviously benefit the county. But I understand also the bidding process as well, if that's the direction you want to go in.
So the question really boils down to, it seems to me what you're discussing is whether to elaborate on the current IGA to encompass this portion, or whether you'd like it bid out.
My point is, what's it hurt to bid? What's it hurt?
Other than time.
And we've already hit every wall there is. They're going to slap us regardless of what we do. What's it hurt to bid?
What's the total cost? What's the bottom line?
Well, the 98,610 for the project. 42,000 is still remaining in the PO, so we're looking at 66,610 for the that would need to be transferred.
And that includes with the county labor. That
That's
estimate
correct.
is
That's
assuming
Yes.
county labor is used for a portion of it.
What's your pleasure?
I said my pleasure.
I don't have a problem with bidding it out. I do think if you take on another contractor, you continuity between MES being a quasi state agency that works hand in hand with MDE. I think they have a good. Whether you would lose some of that or not, but I don't I'm certainly not against bidding anything out.
It just seems to me they control county entities from one side to the other without a bid process that even happen.
Like I said, I'm not against that, but I would just be careful that we don't lose that relationship.
Yes, because they actually gave us the flare to use during the pilot test. There were no charges for that. Been out and a lot of the sampling. Obviously, we've been paying for that. And also, they have put together a good plan for correcting the problem. And they've also been involved with the air permit process. So a lot has been accomplished. I think it's just the final stage.
I would recommend before we go any further, contact said MES, MDE to ensure that if we do bid this particular part of the process, they won't have any heartburns about it.
The consent order is more on the water side than the methane gas. It's pretty much, you know, they all work. I understand. But clearly,
So
You can print that if you want.
So he said, I am. So the consent side is on the water, and not necessarily the methane. So timeline is not really that critical on this.
well, you have to remember too, we can't violate the methane gas exceedances,
You were
and
violating before, Marty.
but we've corrected it. Now we don't want to go back to violating. Right now we have it under control. We want to continue with that. Obviously, if we bid it out, then
Yeah, why don't you just check with MDE, find out our consensus is. You know, they don't have any heartburns about that. And they're very familiar with the bidding process. Find out what we do.
perhaps I can find out if MES will allow us to continue using the flare that they've loaned us while this process is going forward.
The contract under what they're doing already.
Yeah, so under the contract, yes.
Currently, the flare stays there until we use it.
Out, then, obviously we'll have to, some adjustment.
But they've been paid for it up to this point. The performance that they've given.
Yes.
Yeah.
So for them to come in tomorrow, just state this: if MES comes in tomorrow and takes their flare because of this conversation we had tonight, it doesn't look like they're really worried about the environment as it is.
I don't anticipate that.
I'm just saying. You know, if we keep making excuses for MES, I mean, this is for the citizens. It's not about MES.
I'm just stating that they've been really good to work with. They've been moving forward and progressing well, and we're at the stage now where obviously we have a favorable outcome.
And permanent implementation.
That's correct.
Moving right along.
The budget adjustment request that you have in your packet is for, we have a golf cart request that was approved during the budget process. That was the golf cart that was going to be used if we constructed a yard waste facility at the Sharptown Drop-Off Center. $5,500 was budgeted for that expense, for that purchase. Obviously, we're not going to be needing that golf cart due to not building the yard waste facility at that location. My request is we would like to use those funds to purchase a oil tank containment sump. What we did, we have, this is a picture of what I'm speaking of. It's just a container that the oil tank would be housed inside. The second page, you'll see a storage shed that we have, that we used to have paper collection in. We get the oil tanks under cover and away from the stormwater, from rain coming in contact with it. So we would like to put them in what we call the portion line section.
Which is existing.
It is existing, that's correct. And utilize the containment sump to keep oil, obviously, from overflowing if there's an issue.
So that black bin costs $5,500.
No, they are around 1,200. Excuse me. The 5,500 is what's currently budgeted.
You just want to use $1,200 for that.
Well, we would need two. So, yeah, that's correct.
So if you look at 2,400, 500.
That is correct.
And that's where people can take used oil out.
That is correct. And that's going to be for the Nicholson facility.
Right. So moved.
I'll second that.
Article
2,400.
20. Article the second to reallocate $2,400 for a 2 containment sumps for oil containers at the Nicholson Drop-Off Center. All those in favor say aye. Aye. Motion is carried unanimously.
The next item, capital expenditures. During the budget process, it was approved to replace a 30-yard self-contained trash compactor with power unit. This is for the Sharptown Drop-Off Center. This is that power unit that actually operates the compactor. This is the last one that we need to replace. The other two, Duck Puddle and Nicholson, has been replaced. And with that, we need a new compactor with the system. That expense is $29,335. And also another 38-yard self-contained trash compactor for the Nicholson facility. So the total cost, and this is through Mid-Atlantic Waste Systems, the NJPA contract, $51,672.80. Purchase of the power unit and 2 compactors.
So moved.
Second.
Properly moved and second to procure the aforementioned equipment from Mid-Atlantic Waste Systems. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Motion is carried unanimously.
And I have some good news. Cost you anything. Maryland Environmental Service just purchased and they receive delivery on it next week. It's another front load truck for the recycling containers. The old Igloo sites obviously have drastically changed. As you recall, the Igloo recycling truck used to have a crane and they used to pick up the old igloos. The old igloos are no longer going to be utilized, and that old crane truck is finally going to be replaced with the new. Green and brown glass is actually going to be collected together. Clear glass will be separated. But they have that'll improve the collection expenses for the program. And so that change will go in effect in a couple weeks, where the brown and green will be commingled together, and all the signage, of course, will be still in the containers. And I want to announce also that the next household hazardous waste event is on Saturday, November 4th, 8 a.m. to 2 p.m. It's going to be in Caroline County, and we'll be advertising all the papers and that event.
And this MES is going to purchase these new trucks.
Yes, and it's through the surcharge fund that for every ton of trash that goes through the landfill, the 4-county regional landfill, that fund goes towards the recycling program.
MES.
Yes. That's all I have.
Good.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Scott Boone, our Director of Information Technology.
There you go.
Not much in the way of a department update, but as far as fiber is concerned, we have 2 more anchor sites. Our construction complete as of this week. It's Tolchester Wastewater and Eastville Water Tower. We're expecting to see, they finally got the plans, I think, situated in Rock Hall, correct? Okay, so we have the right plans in place. And we should see the trucks rolling in Rock Hall on Thursday. And so hopefully we can finish segment 18. After segment 18, there's only segment 12, which is Quaker Neck, and then downtown Chestertown.
There's actually trucks parked in Rock Hall today.
They did arrive already? I know they were waiting for the locates, so.
They were there today, and they were actually working somewhere, doing something.
Okay, very good. Yeah, so segment.
They contacted me. They got the plans for the town as far as where the water and sewer lines are.
Excellent. That was their major concern when you had the terracotta pipes and so forth. They're not going to bust through them, but I think they feel better about where they are.
Somebody actually told them that they just wasn't any plans of where the infrastructure.
That's been going on for weeks.
Yeah.
And they've been sitting there waiting for the plans, and once they got through to you, I think we got that straightened out. So that's where we are. We expect to see more anchor sites coming online as the weeks progress, and hopefully as we kind of close in between segment 18 and 12, we kind of close on Chestertown, push this thing home. And I asked for an update. They gave me 104 out of 110 done. I think it might be miles, yeah. So I calculated myself as 102, but somewhere between 6 to 8 miles is all that's left.
The Chestertown loop, because I've had some citizens question what's going on with Chestertown. What is the dynamics of how that's reported to them going to play out?
They prefer to do everything underground, okay? And so one of the major holdups in Chestertown is the historic nature. I mean, there's so many different technologies. You can use everything from micro-trenching, where they actually use the roads. You see it in Detroit with the Detroit Rehabilitation. They trench down about this much into the road, and it actually goes down far enough where when they tear the asphalt up and re-pour it, it doesn't hurt the fiber, okay? But it creates traffic issues. If you go on the sidewalk, right, you could create pedestrian issues. And it's more expensive. Certainly directional boring downtown is more expensive, and we want to do everything we can to not disturb the historic nature of downtown Chestertown, especially during the summertime, and as we, head in like Harry Potter and all that kind of stuff. So pole attachment agreements, they've run into some issues there. So I think they're back to just looking to do it underground as much as possible. And what that ultimately is going to be, I think we'll be able to focus 100% of the attention on Chestertown once we get these final 2 segments done, which is Quaker Neck and Rock Hall.
But the other than anchor institutions, any hookup to individual businesses or individuals?
Today, yes.
By Think Big or whatever?
Yeah, they were on Talbot Street today hooking up, was it Johnson's, I think, out there? I think, yeah, they were hooking them up. And they've been up in Kentmore Park for a long time, going house to house up there. But other than that, I mean, I think you addressed the organizational change last week, and we're back in a construction mode, just like they said. So, all right.
Thank you.
All right, thank you.
Marty Hale, Director of Human Resources.
Okay, thank you. I guess we're in the midst of what's becoming a hiring frenzy, so I'm here with the first couple of recommendations. Okay, first up is a recommendation to hire vacant seasonal facility supervisors and facility monitors and substitutes for the evening school and community center programs in the Parks and Rec Department. 7 people are being recommended for facility supervisors, 7 for facility monitors, and 2 substitutes. And it's within the current budget.
Second.
Party moving second to hire 11 individuals for seasonal after-school and community center staff in the Parks and Recreation Department as requested pending successful completion of county pre-employment requirements.
Thank you.
All those in favor say aye. Aye. Motion is carried unanimously.
Thank you. Okay, next up we have a recommendation to fill a vacant lead facility monitor position in the Parks and Rec Department. The vacancy was advertised internally and externally, and we received 6 applications, of which none met all of the requirements for the position. However, it was determined that 4 partially met the minimum qualifications and were chosen to be interviewed. Myra, Jill Coleman, and myself interviewed on the 29th and September 7th, and although no candidate fully meets both, the food service management and recreation or similar experience minimum required, the most qualified applicant is being recommended for hire. This individual satisfies the food service portion of it, which was determined to be a more valuable skill set than the recreation side.
Well, why don't we re-advertise?
I think we've advertised twice. We certainly can go again.
time of the year where things are winding down. You don't need the food service until next spring. So we're winding down to the point where if there's another potential qualified person that might step in that meets all the criteria that we're asking them to meet, instead of taking the system down to where we're hiring somebody who don't meet those requirements, why don't we float it?
That's at your discretion.
That's my discretion. I can't say that.
Well, the board's discretion.
I mean, we got time.
I'm going to be honest with you. It's a hard job to fill because of the food service requirements. Running the concession stand is, takes a certain set of skills and training.
And the other side of it is not nearly as skilled.
Right.
You're also asking to hire this person, if I'm reading this right, over what's budgeted for the position.
Well, that's correct, because the skill set's on the food service side.
So what was your issues with this individual?
With this individual, the person satisfies the requirements of the food service side, but obviously really doesn't have a lot of experience in the recreation side. And the position is a merged position. For 12 to 14 weeks, they deal with the getting the operation for food service up and running, hiring staff that's going to work the summer in that position.
Services, obviously, in the summertime at the next to the pool there.
Yes, the concession stand. The rest of the year, which is the bulk of the year, they're working in the facility, monitoring the facility and setting up for different events. And they have some experience dealing with recreation, but not what the minimums are.
We just hire a part-time person just to do the food during the summer.
But you have one individual down here that says it's had excessive recreation experience.
Right, but not the food service side. The food service side has the requirements for the health department.
They hire them both and mold them together.
Well, that's not a bad idea, because we actually merged the two of those positions together to create this position when we had that skill set in one person within the facility. So we could break it out apart. The problem.
Food service more important than the recreational service.
Well, the credentials for the food service side is more than the recreation side. The problem with separating it out again is finding someone that's going to take a job for 12 or 14 weeks. Yeah. So we had that person in-house, so we merged two of the positions together to create this job. And, of course, whenever you create a position based upon one person's skill sets, you run the risk of, you're pigeonholing a job for one person, and you run the risk of not being able to fill it. So the alternative is to break it back out again. However, finding someone that's going to take a part-time job in the food service side could be hard to come by. Obviously, it's hard to come by someone who matches the spec.
We had somebody there that was willing to do it.
That's correct.
Before that, we did have, we outside contracted that. These gentlemen can do what they want to do. I think we got winter coming. I think we can take our time with this. You figure out if we're going to sacrifice when they don't qualify for the biggest part of the job in what you've asked them to be qualified for.
What are the minimum qualifications, or what is the skill set that you were looking for the 9-month part?
That's listed in, I didn't bring that with me, the job spec itself.
But it seems to me the critical path is food service.
It is, and I don't have any objection to breaking it out if that's what you want to do.
Was there anything in the recreational side that person can't learn to do?
I don't believe so. I think that's more easily trained than the food service side. The food service side requires 5 years of experience and a certification from the health department on safe food handling and some other classes.
We support the request, and we'll give it a try and see where it goes.
Second. Been properly moved and seconded to this right here.
And you say you have advertised this twice already.
Advertised it twice, yes.
Hire the individual recommended to fill a vacancy for the facility monitor position in the Parks and Recreation Department as requested, pending successful completion of county pre-employment requirements. Any further discussion? I have only one question. The probationary period is how long?
6 months currently.
So this is October.
Sorry. 6 months before they start cooking food.
Yeah, that's what I'm thinking.
Since it's discussion, I would also say why do you have to fund them a few $1,000s over budget?
The individual is currently employed. The individual's salary far exceeds what we're offering. Again, we didn't retain the last person over salary, and so the thought process was to try to be competitive, which is always at your discretion. You can alter it, we could try,
I
and
can understand sometimes offering someone a little bit more money if they're more qualified. In this case, we do have a hesitancy about their experience in the recreational part, so.
that's correct.
I probably would stick to what's I'd offer them what 2,000 less.
Entry.
And then I'd support the.
Okay. Properly moving second to hire the recommended individual, and that motion has been amended at the annual salary that which was budgeted. Okay. All those in favor say aye.
Thank you.
Doesn't take you a lot. We'll advertise again.
Advertise again. And we may have to break it out, but we'll figure that out when we get there.
We'll come to it.
Okay. Lastly, recommendation, excuse me, to fill a vacant position in the Public Works Department, County Roads Division. Excuse me. Position was advertised internally and externally, resulting in 5 applicants, of which 2 were determined to have met the minimum qualifications and were interviewed on September 22nd by myself, Al Hammer, and Lee Layton. We interviewed the 2 applicants. After the interviews, we checked the reference of one, and the decision was made that the offer would be made to the individual listed on the briefing template.
Second.
Properly moving second to hire the recommended individual for MEO1 position in Public Works, pending successful completion of the county pre-employment requirements at the annual salary recommended. All those in favor say aye. Aye. The motion is carried unanimously. All right.
Before we adjourn now, we have some departments that have revolving door, seems like on employees. I don't know if there's any way to study this or find out the actual cause of this in certain departments, because it's some departments it's continuous. And if there's an answer we can get, or I can get as a commissioner, to say why this department is turning over people, I think we should step forward and do some type of, whether it's internal.
We do exit interviews.
We do exit interviews. I do.
People never answer exit interviews, honestly. I really don't think they do. I mean, if you got a stack of paper you can show me to say they told you exactly why.
Well, I can't prove that, but I could certainly produce the exit interviews, and we offer an opportunity for the interview. I mean, they take it with them, and we say if they choose to answer it.
We feel as though they may have harm in the future of possessing another job.
They're already gone at that point, and they're free of employment for us. And the reason that they left is noted in their file. So if they left and not in good standing, then they would get a recommendation. They wouldn't be. Oftentimes, it comes down to would you rehire the individual? And that determination is made most times before I receive the exit interview back. So they certainly can be thoughtful in it and with no fear of retribution. Whether they choose to or not is their decision, and I do forward any that I take, extreme exception to. If I see something uncomfortable or something that looks like it needs to go forward, I do that.
So as HR director, you feel as though rollover in certain departments to the numbers that they are is normal. You talk to other HR directors out there.
Yes, in some departments, low pay is certainly a reason why people turn over quickly. Poor management, in some cases, reasons why people would, jobs would turn over quickly. There's certain departments and certain positions that, pretty much we talk about when we're all together that there's a turnover rate for them. Now, I can compile the data that I see from exit interviews. I mean, I can run a report and figure out who's left here in the last year, 2, 3, 5. I could, research their exit interviews and certainly compile the reasons that they say they're leaving, and see if there's any trend in the data. I mean, that's something that can be done.
I tell you, I think we're treading on thin ice when we start trying to figure out ourselves the reasons that people. I mean, if you give someone, and I know what Billy's referring to, and I agree with what he's leading up to. But I think if you give an individual the opportunity to do an exit interview and they're disgruntled for any specific reason, if they're not willing to mention it for you or anybody else to try to figure out why they're leaving, I think I don't think we should go that route. I think you give them the opportunity to say why they're leaving, and if they don't take it, I don't know what else we do.
Yeah. Well, there's a section on the exit interview where we ask them to check, it's a simple check mark, competitive pay, support from supervision and management. I mean, there's a list of them. And they could simply check that with no comments. And, there's some trends that could come out of that. A lot of times I do see low pay as being one of them, and certainly on the entry-level positions, that's, a cause we lose, some people to Queen Anne's County, certainly in some of the public works departments, even in public safety. I'm going to be honest with you. We've had a lot of employees, the dispatchers, that leave and go to Queen Anne's County because Queen Anne's County offers a 24/72 schedule and slightly better pay. So when an individual in that capacity says, I could work 24 hours and have 3 days off and get another job, which is the same thing that happens with the paramedics. They work 24/72, and they all work for another county if it's allowed. And so they're pulling down 2 salaries. If each of those counties is in the state pension, then we had this happen here. They work 3 years, they get their high 3 years of salary, which is 2 salaries, goes down in the state pension books as $150,000 a year, and when they retire, they have a very comfortable salary. But the public safety jobs seem to operate on a 24-hour schedule, and so we are losing some people to Queen Anne's County as a result.
I think more than just the fact that the people are leaving, I think when you look at when some of those departments that are so crucial to the citizens of Kent County, when they go down 1, 2, 3 employees, and it is a safety item or issue, then there should be a little more scrutiny on what's going on in some of those departments. Because if we're just sitting up here once a week and we hear this out in the community, whatever, but if we don't have all the answers to what we're trying to find, I mean, I'm just trying to find out why our employees are doing what they're doing. And like I say, they fill the sheet out. I've had a few contact and say, well, I am worried about my next job. They say it straight out. So they don't answer it. And it's their choice to do that, like you say, but it's not giving us proper foundation to stand on why our department's the way it is.
The only thing that we do, regardless of whether they fill out an exit interview or not, that's the compensation. Because we do salary comparison with other jurisdictions.
Right, and we've done that this year.
Yeah.
We're pretty close to most of our adjoining counties, unless they get really creative with the hours type situation. I mean, pay-wise, we're right there with the rest of them.
I agree with some of that. I think, in some instances, there's probably some discussions of corrective measures that could be taken from time to time, but
I guess then all I'm asking for is that to probably start happening.
okay, well, we will take that under advisement and see what we can do. Okay, and I'll just put out there that we do have, I hate to follow this conversation up with, but I think there's probably 5 jobs that'll be listed in Thursday's paper. We are
Very happy because
That's why some of them are entry-level jobs.
They are.
I mean, you don't expect somebody to, I mean, you hope that people,
Well, that's just right. Some of them are stepping stones.
yeah.
you don't want them to stay, you hope they don't stay there forever. You hope that's a step to better themselves.
I agree with that.
Whether it's in our organization or a neighbor.
we really had an issue with our deputies leaving and going to DNR and et cetera. And that was strictly compensation.
Yeah, and I did at that time put together a list of why people were leaving and where they were going, that kind of stuff. But a good example of stepping stone position, I'm going to say, is our custodial positions. I mean, or our maintenance worker positions, I'll go with, because if there's somebody out of work or they're being laid off in the winter and then we have a maintenance position available, they apply, it's pretty much inside work, that kind of stuff. But they're skilled. And so we offer them a salary because there's only so much we can afford to pay for the work we're doing. And, these are people that can build buildings and they're coming in and they're scrubbing toilets from time to time and they're shoveling sidewalks and mowing lawns. And, it becomes not their cup of tea real quick. So the first offer that comes available, close to what they're accustomed to making, the next construction job, they're out. And, I see that as a good example of what happens in some of our entry-level positions, as you mentioned. We've done a lot of work to bring those salaries up, but, there's only so much you can afford to and are willing to pay for certain jobs, and, our entry-level positions take the beating on turnover.
Well, that's the case, in case as an entry-level position, that is a golden opportunity for those who newly graduate kids, an opportunity to get a job.
All right, absolutely. You got to have those positions.
Yeah. And then in some cases, they're hired in the maintenance position. The first job, we've had a lot of people go from maintenance to roads to correctional officer. And then I will say, as a kind of in addition to the conversation, we only have so many jobs because of our size, and so we just had an employee that was leaving that got their education while they were here. They advanced while they were here. They left to go to a similar job in a larger department because there's more levels of supervision and a higher ladder to climb. So, and of course we're happy for the individual because they're, you don't want to stand in their way, and they're furthering their career and everything. But
there are very few of us in this room that are still working at the same job the first job we ever had.
Oh yeah, absolutely, yes.
That's
That's
expected. It's just a golden opportunity that come February, March, April timeframe is,
I think maybe I don't want to put words in Billy's mouth, but if he was alluding to maybe management not looking out for their employees or hard to get along with or whatever, that's a different issue.
That is a different issue.
And that's what we have to keep an eye on, I think, if that's what Billy was referring to. I don't know that.
Right.
That's their role, I think. But as far as getting upset when somebody leaves to better themselves, we should wish them well.
Right. And we do, and there's nothing we wouldn't do for those individuals. As a matter of fact, in some cases we have those individuals return to us, which hopefully you'll see in the next several weeks, a similar situation. And I guess I would add to that being a local government and a participating governmental unit in the Maryland state pension system now requires a 7% contribution on the part of the employee. When I started, and I'm certainly not complaining in any fashion, when I started it was 2%, and you kind of close your eyes and you'll miss it. But over the years it's crept to 7% through reform and everything, and suddenly 7% of an employee's salary becomes real money. I mean, they see it leaving their check. Couple that with going from 5 years of vesting to 10 years vesting, and it becomes a situation, certainly for the more mobile individuals in our society, you know, the younger workers who really don't have, I don't want to say they don't have a commitment to their employer, but, you know, they're trying to get experience in a lot of different areas and they move quickly. And that money, of course, they can get it refunded to them if they leave. But 7% is, I mean, you know, when you see that amount coming out of their checks, you know, even that could be the difference of, I can't make my bills, and so I got to find something that's not going to pay the 7%.
Pension system on the backs of the employees.
Right, but I will say, well, now if you retire from the state pension, then you have a nice pension. So on the part of the HR directors and MACO, we are looking at petitioning to have the vesting period drop back down to 5 years. And so there's a meeting on October 25th. The HR directors are getting together and discussing some issues before, and then we're going to attend the session over there. And so that was determined at the last MACO meeting, the HR directors session, that it was starting to pose a problem, and we should really try to look into it. And so that motion and movement has already begun. So
you just give us. There's going to come a time, I think, we're going to have to adopt our personnel policy, our new.
That's correct.
Right?
Yes, and it's.
You just made a good argument for me to not reduce any benefits or anything, because over the years their contributions have increased, as you say, for their pension and stuff. So I think we need to keep that in mind when we start looking at any changes we might do to some of the personnel policy. Just a thought. That doesn't mean it's blanket, it's a statement. It's just, but we have to remember, I think, that there's a lot more coming out of people's paychecks today, as you.
Yes.
And I think I know what you're talking about.
I know what you're talking about, but and I wrote it. Well, Lee did, but we did.
Yeah, you hear about that in the morning.
No, I gave credit where credit was due the first time. We did recommend some changes to it, but again, we were really trying to be contemporary and issues that are facing today's workforce. So,
I think right now we're looking at October 17th, right, Marty?
Yes.
Is that where we landed for the personnel?
And what we did was put together a list of the recommended changes so that we can, you know, if you're managing by exception, you know, all the policies are the same except for this set, and so we could kind of focus on those. And
you highlighted some of the major changes.
We did. All the major changes. Everything else in the manual carried through from the last one. But
Staunch employees, Mr. John out there going to bed, so he's shaking his head about this conversation. He needs to get some rest for him.
I rarely talk past my, will you hire these people, so.
All right. Thank you, Mark.
That's all I have.
Thanks, Mike.
Okay, the first item under me is as a result of notification from the Government Finance Officers Association that Kent County's FY16 Comprehensive Annual Financial Report, otherwise known as the CAFR, qualifies for GFOA's Certificate of Achievement for Excellence in Financial Reporting. And Pat Merritt is here on behalf of that.
Pat, you mind stepping into our office? It's not a disciplinary form. This is good.
They just told us what we've all known for a lot of years, Pat.
Pat, just so the audience knows, this is a certificate of achievement. This is certified that Patricia Merritt is hereby recognized for, and I would add, her entire department, her commitment, dedication, and leadership to the Office of Finance and receiving Certificate of Achievement for Excellent in Financial Reporting from the Government Finance Officers Association. This Certificate of Achievement is the highest form of recognition in governmental accounting and financial reporting, and its attainment represents a significant accomplishment by government and its management. Your continued commitment, dedication, and leadership are greatly appreciated. Kent County Commissioners of Kent County, Maryland, William Pickram, Ronnie Finney, and William Short.
Much, but and I know I say this all the time. It's really a village upstairs, and there's many people whose efforts go into that. We're in the middle of the audit right now, and I think I saw at least 4 timesheets with over 90 hours on them last pay period. So there's a tremendous effort, and it's a very cohesive effort from everybody that allows that to happen. And I have a great staff, and can't say enough about them.
You're exactly right, but I think what Billy read was talking about the leadership role at the park, which that's you, and we appreciate. But you're right, you have a great staff, but they also have a great leader.
Well, thank you.
And this is suitable for framing too.
I just know what you've been through for the last couple of years with different position changing, and you have to get this again.
That's quite an achievement.
Is quite an achievement, which means I know you've worked a lot of hours.
We've had a lot of people step up. I think we have 3 people up in the office that are here less than a year and a half, and they have all stepped up. So I'd like to thank them as well.
Very good.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Congratulations.
Than't you.
I think we could actually get a frame for it too. I mean, that's kind of
cheap, ain't it?
That's Sandra. Let her get you a frame.
I think we can rustle one up.
Maybe we can budget that one. Come back next week for modification.
The next item for review is something that came up several meetings ago. There was a petition from the property owners along Mount Pleasant Road asking for some help with the OP Road. As a result of that conversation, you asked for an estimate to see how much it would cost to tar and chip it. And Danny has provided that estimate. His estimate is only for the supplies. It does not include labor or the equipment cost to run the machinery that would make this happen. And this also does not really address the drainage issues along the side. This is just the tar and chip.
I think I'm the one that asked for it because I was just curious actually of, if we go in there every year and grade it and do it, or I don't know how many times we go in there, would it be better to kind of stabilize it with this amount of money? But I was just for my FYI, I was just curious.
But we're going ahead and grading anyway, right?
Generally, we go in and do a little grading and dump stone.
Twice a year.
Ish, depending on weather conditions.
Thank you for the information.
Absolutely. The next item is the Commission on Aging's recommendations for new members. We have had 2, unfortunately, for personal reasons, have to step off, and there are 2 recommendations to fill unexpired terms, one which would expire at the end of this year, December 31st, 2017, and second that would expire at the end of next year, December 31st, 2018.
I'll make a motion to approve the appointment of those 2 new members.
Second.
Probably move a second that the 2 new members be appointed, and also thanking those who are stepping off the commission. All those in favor say aye. Aye. Motion is carried unanimously.
The next item has to do with an advisory board's members. Parks and Rec Advisory Board has a few members that are considered student members, and there's a recommendation to appoint one of the student member positions.
So moved.
Second.
Probably moving second to appoint the student member to fill the one of the 2 vacant student members on the Parks and Recreational Advisory Board. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Motion is carried unanimously, and the appointment was Sarah Collins. Does it have an M on there? Oh, no.
Collins. And finally, under my items, we have the Property Tax Assessment Appeal Board with a vacancy and a recommendation to appoint. And we actually now have a vacancy in the alternate member, and we're looking for any interested parties that might be interested in that board. PSA.
Motion to approve.
Second.
Probably moving second to elevate the
Alternate member.
alternate member to a permanent member and to advertise for an alternate member to place him. All those in favor say aye. Aye. Motion is carried unanimously.
And there are a few other items that I just want to go through really quickly for your information. October meeting schedule. There's a meeting tonight, obviously, October 17th and October 25th. The October 25th meeting, just as a reminder, is the meeting with Secretary Grumbles. It's at 1 p.m. and it'll be held here in the hearing room. The second item is the innovative internships for the fall 2017. This is a collaborative effort that's been happening with Washington College and Kent County to offer college students internships with local businesses in the community, as well as government agencies that are interested. And finally, we did receive a notification of a public hearing on October 16, 2017 for Chestertown's intent to annex the property where their wastewater treatment plant is currently located, and this is on the Planning Commission's agenda to be reviewed on October 5th, and they will forward their thoughts to you to be reviewed at the October 17th meeting.
Okay. Finished? Oh. Okay. Any statements? Anything? Okay. Any questions at all from our media friends and partners? None? Okay, hearing none.
Motion to dismiss.
How did you? We didn't actually have citizen.
Yeah, I'm sorry.
Yeah. Oh, this is what we probably should have. Bam.
That's right. Al.
I'll be short. I just want to bring up a discussion on the 60/40. And does the 60/40 law still work? Is it new? Is it old? How long has it been in place?
It has been in place a very long time.
It has. And
however, instructed the staff to poll other jurisdictions in Maryland as far as with their acceptance. So we want to be consistent with the rest of Maryland.
I think so. I think a lot of changes in the alcohol world is changing every week. I think with the tips and TAMs and the things that the required training that we take now that we didn't have before, I think it makes a big difference. And I really don't know what it protects on the 60/40. Either way, the 60/40, I think it's just mainly for children, if I read it correctly, that we're not serving minors or people underage. Well, we won't do that under TAMs and tips. Rob Adler's in our place all the time. We have all our people have been certified. We all take the classes. We all take the updates. And it seems like when I talk to the other restaurant owners and other people around town, it's not just us. I think a few of us aren't making our numbers. Now, this is only our second time for our Class B application, so we are learning how the food service is done, and we are putting another $10,000 into different ovens and trying to do different things to get people come to downtown, which is a whole different issue after 5 downtown. It's very challenging to make any numbers downtown, much less your food numbers. But I just thought maybe it'd be up to a discussion. I was asking Ms. Saunders if it's been, how long has this law been in place? Why was it in place? What was it adopted? And should it be, since the alcohol world has changed, you got tips and TAMs, you got all these different certifications, what's it trying to protect?
William wasn't here last week, but we talked about some of this with the delegation and the attorney when he was present. There are other jurisdictions that do things differently, and the 36 districts are aware of that. They're aware of it now. It's up, working with Tom and us as a board to try and see, some of the feelers that how many businesses, Sandra can answer this, and amongst us, are suffering because of this type of rule. Because none, I don't think, sitting up here want to see any business go out of business because of a rule that is possibly changed, or we could possibly change it. Working with legislation, and maybe I'm not speaking for all of us, but that's fine. But I think that the letter we read last week of yours, and the fact that there's other businesses that I personally talked to, I'm leaning towards whatever we can do, because I know it's been done in other parts of the state to help business in Kent County, not necessarily Chestertown, but Kent County.
Right. I'll tell you from my perspective, it was before my time, so I don't know why that particular ratio was created and the history behind it. Ron has been here longer than I have. He was here when they started electricity, so.
Yeah, right. So I really, I can't add anything to
Right.
why formula is what it is. I can tell you that I'm open to research and see what, we've never been, in my time, I've never been posed with the idea of, is the formula the right formula, or could it be checked? We probably need to look into it and then come up with some information so that we can make some kind of educated decision, I guess.
I appreciate that. And I think also maybe streamline the licenses so it's one consistent license instead of having, are you applying for a tavern license, or a B, a C, or D? Just somewhere along the line, I think those laws have been around a long, long time. And I think the alcohol business is changing with the breweries, the distilleries. Alcohol's just not. Only persons that don't like alcohol is Maryland State Liquor Board, MSLB. The rest of us are. You're either on the MSLB side or you're on the manufacturing and craft side.
Now we made a tremendous amount of changes, including yours.
Oh, yeah.
Over the period, the last couple of years, the wine and cheese shop where we had it, serve food. I mean, we've been, I think, in the forefront. Yeah, been in the forefront of making this happen. So again, if it's something we have to deal with, branch out and figure out legislation, and we have to have all the information to do that. Once we have it,
I appreciate that. I just thought.
It's actually advised this last week that something of this nature would come before, his committee, and that if we come up with something to get in touch with him, and he'd be willing to talk to us about it. So let us look into it. That would be my suggestion. It's just something that we haven't had to deal with at all, period. And then somebody brings it, not to say that we shouldn't take a look at it.
Right.
Let's figure it out.
Well, even us, we've been in the alcohol business 12 years. We didn't know until we got on board and we tried to do this. We had no idea. It was like 60-40. We could, I'm not knock it right out of the park.
Listen, I know.
we're at a good start because it's early.
I know business has been in business long as I've been around, and they struggle from time to time. So we need to look at it, man.
Right. Seasonal. All right. Thanks. That's all I needed. Thanks a lot.
Thanks for bringing it up. Anyone else? Anything else?
Motion to adjourn.
Second.
We are adjourned.
Hasta la vista, baby. What?